In the late 1700s, a Jewish coin dealer from a cramped Frankfurt neighborhood created something that had never existed before: the world's first truly global banking network. This is the story of how the Rothschild family changed international finance forever, financing wars, building empires, and creating a dynasty that would become the wealthiest private family in history. Our story begins in 1744, in the cramped Jewish ghetto of Frankfurt, Germany. Mayor Amschel Rothschild was born into a world of severe restrictions, where Jews faced anti-Jewish laws that limited their opportunities and movements. After losing both parents to smallpox at just 11 years old, young Mayer's life could have ended in poverty. But his father, a traveling peddler, had already introduced him to something crucial: the complex world of money exchange. In the fragmented Holy Roman Empire, even a minor trader might cross several borders in a single day, each with different currencies. This early exposure planted the seeds of financial genius. In 1757, relatives arranged an apprenticeship for the young Rothschild at the prestigious Oppenheimer Bank in Hanover. For 6 years, he absorbed everything about foreign trade, currency exchange, and the intricate world of European finance. When he returned to Frankfurt in 1763, he started as a dealer in rare coins, but he had much bigger plans. His breakthrough came in 1765, when he displayed his rare coin collection to Prince William of Hesse, one of Europe's wealthiest men, known for his legendary greed. This connection changed everything. By 1769, Rothschild earned the prestigious title of court agent, managing the prince's vast finances. He had gone from the ghetto to the palace. But here's where Mayer Amschel's genius truly showed. He understood something revolutionary. To build a truly powerful banking empire, he needed to think beyond borders. And he had the perfect team, his 5 sons. In the early 1800s, Mayer Amschel executed a strategy that had never been attempted before. He strategically positioned each of his 5 sons in Europe's major financial capitals. Amschel remained in Frankfurt to run the original bank. Nathan was sent to London in 1798, initially starting in Manchester's textile trade, before establishing N.M. Rothschild and Sons. James headed to Paris in 1812. Solomon settled in Vienna in 1820. And Karl opened operations in Naples in 1821. This wasn't just expansion. This was the creation of history's first multinational banking network. While other families kept their wealth in one location, the Rothschilds spread across an entire continent. Each brother ran an independent operation, but they functioned as a single entity, coordinating every move and constantly sharing information with each other. The family name itself comes from the red shield, Rotes Schild in German, that adorned their Frankfurt family house. And soon that red shield would become synonymous with financial power across all of Europe. This coordinated approach was unprecedented. The 5 brothers, represented by 5 arrows in their family crest, could now move money across borders faster and more securely than any government. In an age where transportation was slow and communication even slower, the Rothschilds had created a financial highway that spanned a continent. The Napoleonic Wars of the early 19th century proved to be the Rothschilds' defining moment. But first, a critical event secured their reputation. When Napoleon invaded Hesse in 1806, Prince William was forced to flee into exile. He faced a desperate problem: how to hide his massive fortune from Napoleon's forces. His financial advisor, Carl Friedrich Buderus, had a bold recommendation: In his words, "Entrust everything to Meyer Amschel Rothschild." The House of Rothschild, Buderus argued, was best positioned to protect the prince's wealth. Meyer turned to his son Nathan in London, who invested £550,000 of the prince's money in British government securities and gold bullion. When the prince returned from exile, his fortune had grown substantially. The Rothschilds' reputation for trustworthiness and brilliant financial management was now firmly established. But their greatest opportunity was yet to come. The British government faced a seemingly impossible challenge: how to fund the Duke of Wellington's army fighting Napoleon in Portugal and Spain. Wellington's soldiers needed to be paid, and his army needed supplies like food and weapons. But how do you safely move massive amounts of money from London across war-torn Europe to troops on the battlefield? Traditional London banking firms had tried and failed to establish the necessary financial networks. This is where Nathan Rothschild came in. In 1814, the British government commissioned him to accomplish what others couldn't: deliver money to Wellington's troops quickly and safely. Together with his brothers, Nathan created something extraordinary: a network of agents, couriers, and shippers that could move gold across war-torn Europe. Here's how it worked. The Rothschild brothers would buy up gold coins in multiple countries, then use their network to transport it in the form of local currency to wherever Wellington needed it. They weren't just moving money. They were essentially inventing modern international finance, using bills of exchange and credit instruments that allowed funds to cross borders without physically moving gold through dangerous territory. Their communication network was equally revolutionary. Nathan established a private courier service with agents in Dover, Calais, and Ostend, with fast ships ready to sail at any time. He employed relays of horses to speed messages from the Channel to London. He even used carrier pigeons from a farm on the coast at Hythe. At a time when governments struggled to get timely battlefield information, the Rothschilds had created what was essentially a 19th century internet. Nathan himself later described the Wellington Commission as the best business he ever did. The Times newspaper declared in 1823 that Rothschild had played so important a part in the history of the present generation that his proceedings will never be forgotten. But the Rothschilds' real secret weapon wasn't just money, it was information. They had built the fastest, most reliable information network in all of Europe. Their courier system could gather and transmit news faster than any government or competitor. This information network used color-coded envelopes to indicate urgency, multiple courier routes to ensure delivery, and maintained absolute confidentiality. The brothers communicated constantly, sharing market information, political developments, and military news. While their competitors and even governments relied on slow, unreliable postal services, the Rothschilds had news sometimes days or even weeks earlier. This advantage allowed them to make investments and financial maneuvers before anyone else even knew what was happening. They could anticipate market movements, see political changes coming, and position themselves perfectly for maximum profit. In an age of slow communication, speed was everything, and nobody was faster than the Rothschilds. By the 1820s, the Rothschild banking network was firmly established across Europe, from London and Paris to Vienna, Frankfurt, and Naples. They were no longer just the financiers of war. They had become the architects of post-war recovery. In 1818, they arranged a £5 million loan to the Prussian government, a symbol of their growing dominance in international finance. And when the Bank of England faced a liquidity crisis in 1825, it was Rothschild's bullion reserves and rapid gold imports that helped prevent the collapse of Britain's financial system. The Rothschild name had become synonymous with stability and power. The family financed the Industrial Revolution itself. They funded railway construction across Europe, the technological marvel of the age. They invested heavily in mining, coal, ironworks, and metallurgical ventures. Every major infrastructure project seemed to have Rothschild money behind it. In 1832, when Pope Gregory XVI needed a loan of £400,000 to stabilize the Papal States' finances, he turned to the Rothschilds. The deal was arranged by Karl von Rothschild. Newspapers at the time claimed Karl was exempted from the traditional ritual of kissing the Pope's foot, a story that, while almost certainly apocryphal, captured the truth of the moment. The Rothschilds had achieved a level of power and prestige once reserved only for monarchs. Perhaps their most famous deal came in 1875, when the Khedive of Egypt was drowning in debt and desperately needed to sell his shares in the Suez Canal Company, about 44% of the total stock. British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, realizing the canal's strategic value, moved fast. Without time to consult Parliament, he turned to Lionel de Rothschild for help. Within 48 hours, the Rothschild Bank provided a £4 million loan. No formal contract, just a handshake and a note backed by Britain's treasury. With Rothschild money, Britain secured control of the Suez Canal, the lifeline of the empire. Between 1895 and 1907, the Rothschilds loaned nearly $450 million, equivalent to over $15 billion today, to European governments. During the 19th century, they possessed the largest private fortune in the world. Historian Niall Ferguson noted that for most of the 1800s, the Rothschild banking group was part of the biggest bank in the world, which dominated the international bond market. So what was the Rothschilds' ultimate secret? Beyond their courier network and their strategic positioning, it came down to two things: family unity and secrecy. Mayer Amschel's strategy was keeping complete control in family hands. The brothers operated with what observers called unbreakable unity, always coordinating as a single entity, never competing with each other. This allowed them to maintain absolute secrecy about the true size of their fortunes and their business operations. They pioneered practices that other banking families would later copy. The Jewish Encyclopedia noted in 1906 that the practice initiated by the Rothschilds of having several brothers of a firm establish branches in different financial centers was followed by other Jewish financiers, and that, by this means, Jewish financiers obtained an increasing share of international finance. This model of international family banking became the blueprint for international banking in the 19th century and beyond. The Rothschilds didn't stop at banking. In 1873, the French and English family banks worked together to buy Spain's Rio Tinto copper mines, which were losing money at the time. The Rothschilds turned them around and made them extremely profitable. By the early 1900s, the Rothschilds held a dominant financial stake and effective control of the company, overseeing vast copper exports that fueled Europe's industrial revolution. In 1887, they became the largest shareholders in South Africa's De Beers diamond mines. They funded Cecil Rhodes's British South Africa Company and later helped establish the prestigious Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford University. The family also invested heavily in wine production. Nathaniel de Rothschild acquired Chateau Branmouton in 1853, starting what would become one of the world's most prestigious wine empires. Today, Rothschild wines are among the most expensive and sought after in the world. During the 19th century, they purchased a huge proportion of London's Mayfair district. They built over 60 palaces and mansions across Britain and Europe. Their Parisian mansion at 33 Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré has doors reportedly big enough for 4 tall giraffes to walk through side by side. The family became known for what people called Rothschild style, a standard of luxury, art collecting, and refined taste that influenced European high society for generations. The Rothschilds didn't just have money. They set the standard for how rich people should live. By the late 19th century, the Rothschilds' financial empire faced a new challenge. Across Europe, modern joint stock and commercial banks began rising. Institutions like Crédit Lyonnais in France and Deutsche Bank in Germany. These publicly funded banks could raise far greater capital than any private family house. As a result, the Rothschilds gradually lost their unique dominance. They remained powerful, yes, but no longer the undisputed masters of global finance they had been earlier in the century. The 20th century brought even greater challenges. World wars, nationalizations, and shifting global markets undermined their banking dominance. In 1938, the Austrian Rothschild interests were seized by the Nazis, ending over a century of Central European banking. In 1981, the socialist French government nationalized the Banque Rothschild. But the family adapted, as they always had. The Naples and Frankfurt branches closed due to lack of male heirs. However, the French and British branches not only survived, but evolved. They recapitalized, merged, and modernized. In 2003, the British and French houses merged under David René de Rothschild's leadership. Today, Rothschild & Co. is a multinational investment banking company with around 57 offices across the globe, specializing in mergers and acquisitions, asset management, and wealth management. While they no longer have the same level of control over global finance as they did in the 1800s, they remain prominent in finance, real estate, and philanthropy. The Rothschild legacy is profound and complex. They pioneered international banking as we know it today. They proved that a coordinated financial network could wield power equal to or greater than governments. They showed that information, when combined with strategic positioning, could be more valuable than gold itself. Their model of multinational banking, establishing branches in major financial centers, maintaining rapid communication, and coordinating as a unified entity, became the blueprint for modern international finance. Banks like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and modern investment banks all operate on principles the Rothschilds established 2 centuries ago. The family also championed Jewish civil rights and philanthropy. They funded hospitals, schools, and cultural institutions. They supported the early Zionist movement and made significant land purchases in Palestine that contributed to the eventual establishment of Israel. Beyond conspiracy theories and myths, the true Rothschild story is one of strategic genius, family unity, and financial innovation. They didn't just accumulate wealth. They fundamentally changed how money moves around the world. From a cramped Frankfurt ghetto to the palaces of Europe. From rare coin dealing to controlling the world's bond markets. The Rothschild family built something unprecedented. The first truly global banking network. Their story reminds us that innovation, strategic thinking, and family unity can overcome even the most restrictive circumstances. The 5 arrows of their family crest still represent the 5 brothers who conquered Europe's financial capitals. And while their empire has evolved and adapted over 2.5 centuries, the Rothschild name remains synonymous with financial power and strategic brilliance. If you enjoyed this deep dive into financial history, don't forget to like, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories.